Welcome back to The Gassing Station, the podcast that breaks into the PistonHeads forums like I have broken the front suspension of my car.
Oh no.
Sam, that's an oh no from my co-host Sam Sheehan. Sam, it's I knew this was going to happen.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were you driving along going, it's going to happen?
Well, sort of. So for people that haven't listened to The Gassing Station before or read anything on the PistonHeads homepage is that my, what was daily driver for the best part of 10 years, a 2005 Fiesta ST, has now been retired into project car / just kind of keeping my eye in on a manual car. And so the other day, I went to go and run out and get some food at lunchtime. And it was cold. My wife didn't really fancy joining me. So I was like, oh, I'll go and take the Fiesta.
Yeah.
So I got in the Fiesta and I went to my local supermarket. And the way that it happened, and I'm embarrassed about this, but I thought this is the safest place to talk about it. As I was leaving the supermarket, I looked down one of the aisles of the car park, and I saw what looked like a camouflaged car.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I've got to see what that is. So there's a roundabout at the exit of the supermarket, and so instead of turning left to exit, I turned right to go and do a U-turn.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that roundabout is not a pothole, but it's a dip. It's quite a considerable dip. And as I went through that dip, there was an almighty bang.
Oh, no.
Like a really loud bang, snap. And I thought...
Ding? Was there a ding? That's a giveaway
I think it was
sign.
a slightly dingy sound.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, please let that be something that I've run over. But I just knew it wasn't. And
Please let it be a person. Thank God it's a person.
I was like, it sounded like I had driven over a metal road sign.
Yeah.
Like that really like horrible metallic sound. And so I looked back and I was like, there's nothing on the road. No. Just another person. And then it started pulling to the right. And I thought, this is not good. And it turns out that the car that I thought was covered in camouflage was just a black car with loads of soap suds on it that was getting washed. So that made me feel like a real idiot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've broken a coil spring. The thing is I don't have a jack at home because I don't have a shed or anything to store it. So I can't quite see under the car just yet. But
it's likely.
But, it's likely. And the reason I was expecting it is like it is 145,000 miles.
Yeah.
And the dampers, I've been meaning to do them for a long time, but the family car took priority. Various house bits have taken priority. And now it broke. And I'm just very lucky that it happened 2 minutes from home as opposed to on a motorway.
Yeah, it was going to happen anyway. If it was already that fragile, it was going to happen one day.
Absolutely.
My Clio, I did a coil spring on it when it was about... Well, to be fair, I'd done 70,000 miles at that point, but because I drove it a bit aggressively in Yorkshire when I lived up there for a bit, it did a coil spring. But I've had coilovers since, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. Really,
yes,
you tend to be tougher.
Giving me some good advice on coilovers at lunchtime.
Like
and yeah, I kind of want something that is going to be... I'm not going to go for the OEM replacement ones because I thought, well, it is going to be this RS project at some point. So I thought, well, now's the time to make a start on the suspension. So I'm kind of toying with the idea of, do I go for a full coilover setup with some adjustment, or do I go for an out-the-box great setup like a Bilstein B12?
Yeah.
So it's either that or you can get some KWs with a bit more adjustability.
Whatever you can get camber on. Camber is the best. For any viewers and listeners who have adjusted camber, you will probably know what I'm talking about. Not good for tyre wear if you go too extreme, but my God, does it make steering feel and front end responses feel a heck of a load better, especially in cars that aren't front wheel drive cars, but also, I mean, rear wheel drive cars take to it really well as well. But yeah, you're right, because you're trying to overcome the challenges of a front axle that also has to do the steering. You can sort of fix it a bit, and it looks cool.
It does. I love a bit of, dare I say, stance.
Yeah, not too much, because then it gets a bit like, this is crazy. That car looks broken.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it looks cool like a track car, that's cool.
Purposeful.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've got any recommendations, there'll be a story of this going out on the PistonHeads homepage. I'd really recommend, really appreciate any of you leaving a comment to be like, oh, I've done this to my Fiesta ST or whatever. I recommend these. Greatly appreciated. What will not be appreciated is go and send it to the scrapper. Because, I put out a story on it the other day, kind of saying, because it had a little bit of rot on the recent MOT, And I was like, is it now time to part ways with it? And I would say 95% of responses are people going, no, keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way a fast forward should be, is just barely clinging on to life.
Yeah.
So, which I really appreciated. It was, I needed that little boost to be like, I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to keep it running until it dies.
That's the end of it. Those cars are now coming into their people are appreciating them now more than ever, and they might not be worth a lot of money, but they don't make them like that anymore. They can't make them like that anymore.
No. Which is why I'm clinging on to mine until the coils won't go again, because there'll be some new suspension on it. One thing I wanted to point out for anybody watching is, first of all, on the last episode, I'm sorry that the camera went out quite early in the video. The camera overheated, and we, unless I get up every 2 minutes to go and look at the camera, we didn't see it. So apologies. Hopefully that won't happen on this one. And you'll see that Sam and I are actually wearing the same T-shirt, which is really awkward because,
I don't
want
to look like him.
It makes us look a little uniform.
Yes, yeah.
A little bit
subtle differences, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to point out, Sam.
Yeah.
The happy coincidence is that you are wearing the new PistonHeads merch.
Brand new.
And I am wearing the very old PistonHeads merch. And the two things I wanted to point out, first of all, is the improvement in quality is night and day. I remember when these new merch came in, it was like, oh, wow, this is seriously good. Recently reflected in some merch that I got. I probably shouldn't say the brand because it's going to be a bit nasty, but it's a big car video game franchise that I got a hoodie from that, and it was like, wow, this is basic. So the stuff that we do is much better than that. But my one is one of the older type, and not only is it faded, and it's not through a huge amount of use. It's a little bit faded, but the fit isn't nearly as tight and as well fitting as the new one.
What can I say? So
the new merch really is.
I
strong.
think PH has the potential to become a fashion brand in its own right.
No,
you know.
Yeah. Why not? Wear it with pride.
I've met the PH. We've met plenty of PHs at the shows and stuff in the years, and I think it's a good fashionable bunch.
I tell you what,
good cars, good clothes.
I do love. At a Sunday service, you see people coming up with like PH merch, and they're like, I've had this for 20 years, and I'm like, that is brilliant. Yeah. Our stuff lasts.
You don't get that at Mum's Net Meets, I'll tell you that much.
yeah. That's. I wonder if they do have Sunday services. Probably.
Yeah, they probably do.
Sort.
Yeah.
I tell you what, they're not discussing on Mum's Net though. Well, they might be actually.
They might
I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff goes down. They'll love it.
Yeah, there'll be car enthusiasts on Mum's Net.
But what we're very much talking about, PistonHeads, is the new Porsche Cayenne EV, because by the time you're listening to this, the embargo would have lifted, and Sam Sheehan has only gone and driven it. Big car. It's not in a lot of senses.
All the numbers are big.
All the numbers are big.
Every single one. So
it isn't the first electric Porsche. Obviously,
No.
it's not the first electric SUV, but the Cayenne is a massive money maker for Porsche, and so for them to switch it fully electric was mightily bold, especially when you consider that there's a new CEO in charge, and they're going, I think we need to reevaluate pretty much everything that we're doing. So so let's start off first of all is, what is this new Cayenne all about? What are the numbers? Because they're pretty sizable.
Yeah. In fact, the only number that isn't big is the 0 to 62 time, which we've noted, which is 2.5 seconds in the turbo, which is bizarre. It's bizarre. Is it hang on, I'm just thinking, is it 2.5 seconds? Flipping heck, that is quick. That does ring a bell actually, but I'm now forgetting my notes. I'm just going to double check I wrote that into my thing. Yeah, that must be right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're right. It is 2.5. There it is in the start of my intro. 2.5 seconds. There you go. That is insane, isn't it?
So if you
even reading it back after having driven it, I'm like, is it 2.5? Yeah, it's 2.5.
Well, to put that into context, a McLaren P1, I don't know why this is still the benchmark, but in my head, a McLaren P1 is the fastest accelerating car ever for some reason. That's a 2.8 second 0 to 62 time. So you're doing that in a family SUV.
It's been a week since I've driven it, and I'm like, that's bonkers. I think even at the time when I was driving it, I was like, that's quick, but you're just so shocked by everything else in the car. 1156 horsepower in boost mode is I mean, numbers speak for themselves. It feels how it sounds. It is crazy. Even 400 miles of range. We've got a big battery, 113 kilowatt hours, if I remember correctly. So, big chunky battery. Obviously, it weighs 2.6 tons as a result, but you've got air suspension.
That's something we didn't know when the story first came out, and Porsche was very good at hiding, was that it came up with all these incredible numbers, but the biggest one of all, 2.6 tons, which is, obviously to be expected on a massive SUV.
Yeah.
It is obviously extremely heavy, but, we were talking about the Audi RS5 recently, and it's lighter, but not drastically lighter at 2.37 tons if you get the Avant. So yes, it's a hefty old thing, but as you said, it's got some really quite clever suspension on it.
So it's got air suspension, but it doesn't have like over-the-top active anti-roll tech aboard, so it doesn't feel unnatural. There are some cars, deliberately so, some of the Mercedes SUVs with air suspension will like tilt you into a corner. Great for comfort. Feels lovely for comfort. And this does do that, by the way, in comfort mode. But as soon as you put it in Sport or Sport Plus, it stops doing that. And then you tip it into a corner. There's a little bit of pitch and lean, but it just feels like a performance car rather than an air suspension heavy SUV. And it has steering feel. Real proper steering feel. Yeah. I've driven other electric SUVs in recent times. They don't, the iX3 is one I mentioned on the website. It doesn't really have any steering feel. Cayenne, tons of steering feel, even though it's a fully electric performance SUV.
I guess that's, I say I come across like I'm surprised, mostly because it's a massive blob.
Yeah.
But, we've mentioned a few times here that the Taycan is, I still think, the benchmark for electric car handling.
Yeah.
It's definitely...
And steering, definitely.
And steering, yeah. Sorry, I should have said steering, because it's obviously it's an EPAS system, but the genuine feedback, the genuine texture and communication through the wheel of that thing, and it feels properly on the nose as well.
Yeah.
So you've got this really reactive, beautifully kind of weighted steering.
Yeah.
In something that in 99% of other electric cars is just numb. It's very much connects the wheel. It connects you to the front wheels, and that's it.
Well, I often see people talking about steering feel in EVs, and what they're actually talking about is weight.
Yes.
And they say it's got loads of steering feel, but what they actually mean is I put it in sport mode and it's weighted up. Now, weighting can be good because it's easier to control a car with a bit of weight at high speed, especially if you catch a bump or something. It's not flopping around in your hands. But it's not true steering feel if you've driven a car with true steering feel. Now, the extreme end of that is a Caterham. But that's got no power steering. I mean, that's another...
All feel.
Yeah,
that is your hands on the tarmac.
It's got car feel. Your whole torso's got feel through it. That's the extreme end. But in a massive electric SUV, just like the Taycan, for this car, for me to go into a corner, by the way, you can get some really extreme tyres, like, the cut slick sort of stuff, as well as a Michelin Pilot Sport EV as well. Yeah. You can get I'm just going to refer to my notes again because I've driven a few cars since then. So I've got about 1,000 tyres in my head right now. But if I remember correctly, here we are. P0Rs.
Wow.
Pirelli P0Rs, which are, a Cup 2 equivalent tyre. And obviously the tread, the tyre itself is, I think, 315 millimeters across on the rear axle. So you've got a ton of tyre, and the front is a much narrower. But the key thing about the Rs in particular is they've got a very stiff sidewall. So you get a lot of messages through, there's very little in the way of squidge. And I did drive a car with the Michelin Pilot Sport EVs back to back with the Rs. EV tyres, those Pilot Sport EV tyres are brilliant EV tyres, but naturally they're road biased, so they're a bit softer. So the Pirellis, you just had all this steering feel. So you could get this 2.6 ton gigantic electric SUV into a corner, push hard on the front axle, and you're like, oh, I feel the front tyres are at the limit of grip through my fingertips.
Yeah.
Then I can get on the power and use that to bring the car back into... You're playing with it in the same way you would a sports car. We've said this, we've all... anyone who's driven the performance SUV Porsches before, we often say it feels a bit like a car in many ways. And this is another example of how they've done it. It's not exclusive to Porsche, by the way. You can drive a Stelvio Quadrifoglio, and that's got car-like handling.
Yeah.
But this is bigger, heavier.
I remember driving the Cayenne Turbo GT when that came out.
Yeah.
I did that on the road, and it did feel like, admittedly, that thing felt like it more battered the road rather than kind of ran with it. But did you drive it on track then, as well as out on the road? Or
no, we just went out into the countryside. I drove it out on smooth tarmac, so it'll be interesting to see how it is on a bumpy British road. But it didn't feel its weight. It didn't feel like it was upset by anything as far as speed humps or smaller undulations in the road were concerned. So it feels well suspended, great body control, great feel. Yes, at points you can tell it's a heavy car. I mean, certainly in town, you catch a drain cover and it sounds like you've just set a grenade off on a metallic surface. But honestly, overall, really, really impressive car. And that's not even my favorite thing about it.
Okay.
My favorite thing is the interior. Because to me,
oh my goodness,
predominantly the dash.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Really?
Predominantly the dash. Because in 2026, all brands, I get it, have to offer a heck of a load of touchscreen stuff nowadays. Yes. Because there are some customers who want that. So firstly, they have to tick that box. And secondly, there's a load of tech, a bit of cost saving in some of the brands, blah, 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 etc. Tech is coming, whether we like it or not. Hopefully it'll get a bit smaller and less overwhelming, but generally speaking, screens are probably here to stay.
I just don't understand why people are so excited about technology that they can't use.
Or it's just annoying to use. Yeah.
It's like you're driving. What do you...
I know.
I'm not gonna start on that here, but anyway.
Porsche, I'm close to perfect as far as the modern demands of tech in terms of screens and analog controls in terms of things I want to use on the go. Drive mode selector, turning on and off things. I think they've kind of gone as close to the sweet spot as is possible, because everything you use all the time while driving that you want to use either at high speed or in times when you don't want to take your eyes off the road, e.g. adjusting fan speed and climate, e.g. changing drive mode, etc., that stuff is all still there in conventional physical buttons on Porsche's normal, perfectly round steering wheel, which is just absolutely spot on. No need to evolve the design of that steering wheel, do anything weird in the next gen stuff. So you can drive that car and focus on all the main stuff without taking your eyes off the road. Perfect. Yeah. That's the best ergonomics you can ask for in a car. But then they've also got their really nice digital display. Of course, I prefer an analog dial in the middle of it, but I get it. You have to have all this stuff now. Nice digital display, evolution of what we've seen since the Taycan. And they've got this kind of waterfall-esque central touchscreen with an angle in it, which when you look at it in the pictures, you think, God, that's gimmicky. That's like one of the rotating dashes from one of the new brands that we've got these days from China. You think that's just
which
a
are
gimmick.
Utterly pointless.
Just completely pointless and gimmicky. Yeah. But it actually works because, I don't know whether it's like chicken and egg. Which came first? Did they go, we need to make this waterfall thing make sense? Or did they go, oh, this actually will help drivers? In a way, it doesn't matter, because the result is they've got a rest pad. So in a left-hand drive car, you rest your hand, your right arm on a little rest pad. So the lower part of your hand is resting on that. And then your fingers can reach all the key controls to adjust things like...
That's how you do it.
So it actually adds to convenience having that shape. Because if it was like that, you wouldn't be able to rest your hand on it. If it was... I'm showing a vertical screen now for the listeners. If it was a vertical screen, you would have to take your arms off the rest pad and prod away. And as we know, if you go over a bump or something, you prod the wrong thing, and then you probably have a massive accident.
I do think that's the way to go, because I've seen the one that I'm actually really interested to see is the new Ferrari.
Oh yeah,
Luce,
Apple iPad,
which is quite literally an iPad. Johnny Ive has whacked an iPad on the display, and I'm like,
iPhone and an iPad, right? It's kind of got.
Oh, it does.
Instrument cluster and iPad.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's how he snuck it in.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, I'm really not a fan of the iPad or pad style thing that's stuck to the dashboard.
Yeah.
AMG did it for a while. Really wasn't that keen.
Yeah.
Now they've got the more drapey screens.
In.
It does feel more like integrated into the dashboard rather than in my car, for instance, whenever I have to go somewhere and I need the maps, I've then got to plonk my phone on the dash, and I hate it. I hate the look of that.
Yeah.
The benefit is I can take it off, but it just looks so horrible.
Yeah.
Whereas, I agree. I had a little glimpse of the interior of the Cayenne in the middle of last year when they were doing this wireless charging thing, which I'll get onto in a bit. I could see that it was really kind of like draped, almost like the opposite of what Jaguar was doing with its old Pivot Pro system. And it genuinely was. It felt like an improvement. I'm still a little old school and would like as many things as analog as possible, and just keep something like sat-nav to the screens. But I think it's a step in the right direction.
To be fair, if you don't want to get stuck in with the tech, you can just run it like that. You can just wirelessly have your phone connect, then Waze or Google Maps, whatever you use, pops up on your screen. put your maps on, then you just use all the buttons I mentioned earlier. The only stuff that really required a bit of touchscreen which was to my frustration. This is the one negative, although apparently this could be fixed because they've done it on the Taycan. There are no shift paddles to adjust regen. I know engineers listening, that's not the most efficient way to do regen apparently, but it's more engaging, it's more fun.
Yeah.
It's nice to have it, especially if you're out on a country road driving. Sometimes I don't want to keep hammering the brakes, which by the way in the Cayenne, not only were really strong carbon ceramics on the turbo, but the pedal feel is great as well. That can be added to the Porsche excellent feel category box.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't have that. I asked Porsche, I said, you going to bring any of the paddles in? You've done it with the Taycan. They said, oh yeah, it's absolutely on the table as a potential addition to come along at a later point. So that might be fixed. But otherwise, without that, that's the only reason you would really interact with the touchscreen when moving at pace.
I see. Right. Okay.
That's the only thing I was pressing.
Obviously, you know, with the old, the current style Porsche steering wheel, as you said, has still got physical buttons on it that control most stuff. So
and proper buttons. It's not like you know, iX3's got the rockers and a few other ones have got like that. These are still individual buttons that I can't remember when they were first introduced, but are certainly a few years old.
Yeah, I think it was around at least 992 Taycan kind of era. But I just actually wanted to bring this back to the wireless charging.
Yeah.
Because so last year I had a go with that, and it was something that I could genuinely see why some people would want it if you had a fair amount of disposable income. Did you get to have a go in it?
We were supposed to. And when we got the invite, it did say we were going to get a demonstration of the wireless charging. And then when we got there, they went, oh no, we're going to do that when it's launched in your individual markets. So for us, it'd be when the UK launch happens. I don't know whether it was a technical issue with the site they were using, whether it was an issue with you've seen it before, so clearly it works. Yeah. There were a lot of cats in the area. Did they fry a cat in a test? Apparently that doesn't happen.
That would be quite funny, yes, because they've specifically engineered it in a way that cats can't be fried. Yeah. But the way it works is that you've got like a charging pad that connects up to a receiver in the car. And you kind of, as you're driving up to it, there's something that appears on the central screen that's almost like a game, where you've got to line the receiver up with the charging pad. Yeah. And you've got to be actually quite precise with it. You know, if you come at it from an odd angle, you'll have to go and reset and do it again. But I'm sure the more you do it, the more you would get used to it. But there's actually part of the system of where if a cat comes along and sits on it, because I think it can get warm. I don't think it can get microwavy, but I think it can get warm. And you know what cats are like. They love sleeping under cars. Yeah. So if it does that, it then cuts it immediately, and then it sends you a notification to your phone to be like, by the way, mate, Mittens is having a nap on your charging pad. And then you can go out and shoo Mittens. But the only thing I was thinking of is like, I grew up with cats. They're going to come back. You're going to shoo them away. Oh, and they'll come back immediately. So you're going to be getting up all the time in the night to go and remove your cat. So maybe they need like a catapult system.
Yeah, catapult. Very nice.
It just kind of like flings them off.
Yeah. Oh, I see what
just
you mean.
An idea.
This is now it's like Robot Wars. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, like Robot Wars. Yeah. So maybe they need a robot to come out and like just start flinging animals. Yeah. But that did generally look cool, but it would be an optional extra. But you know, the picture we're painting here is that it looks like another Porsche that, I'm sorry, PistonHeads, you know, but they do tend to make pretty good products. And it's just the problem at the moment is they're not really selling a lot of them, or they are struggling with sales. So
I've not seen a single Megane EV on the road.
I've not seen.
I've seen one, and it said Porsche press office on the back of it, and I was like,
okay. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is you know it's a bit like I was doing a story on Aston Martin the other day of where you know they're in a bit of tough times at the minute, not just the Formula One team, and you know you can't really blame the products. I guess it's more the demand. So when you see something like this Cayenne, do you see it being a sales hit, or do you just think of it as like it's a great product, but is this what people are after? Yeah,
it's tricky because it does have genuine... Like if I was a wealthy person who just wanted a big, powerful SUV that can do 400-ish miles and it's petrol or electric is irrelevant, there are reasons to go for this over the petrol. I mean, if you think about the 0-62 time 2.5... I mean, that's not going to be your priority, obviously, but just for out and out, like standing in the pub going, well, my car's got... It's the most powerful production road-going Porsche ever made. You know, that's a pretty big statement. It's also cheaper than I I think it's the SE hybrid version, which obviously is
Right.
based on the previous Cayenne, which you can still get, by the way. You can
Yes.
still get the petrol stuff
Choice.
alongside it.
Having a
So
choice.
yeah, I think originally they were going to get rid of those and then go fully EV, weren't they? And now they've kept the old stuff on. On the website, you can see it. It's the same with Macan. You know, you've got the old car, the new car alongside each other. But this is cheaper than the most expensive petrol-based Cayenne. So that's something. So
And cheaper to run.
cheaper to run if you charge it at home.
Charging
Charging at home.
Yep.
And as I said, yeah, you got the kudos of all the big numbers. Also, has a massive boot, biggest boot in the class by some margin. So there's a practicality reason to go for it. Yeah, it's massive. And when I read that, I thought that's got to be a typo because that's so much bigger than the next biggest car in the class. It's like 100 litres more.
It's been a few years since I was a proper consumer journalist.
Yeah.
So I did see that number and I was like,
that's not
is
right.
That big or
does
is that
it
small?
does it include like all the other bits? And it's like, no, that is just genuinely how big it is.
And
so
a front
practically, yeah, it's got a front boot, not a
I like
frunk,
that. Thank
not
you.
a frunk.
Yeah.
Fruit. It's really, it's got some genuine objective talents, if that makes sense, or reasons to go for it other than the fact that it's a high performance electric car.
Yeah. The one thing, so I know that I'm not the target buyer for a Cayenne, especially a Cayenne Turbo. But my thinking is I look at that and I go, well, it's big and heavy, it's fast and it drives well. I would probably want an electric version of that because it'd be cheaper to run. I've got the practicality. It's going to be nice to drive. But then you take into consideration that a lot of people buy something like a Cayenne GTS or a Turbo or whatever because it is that going down to your mates at the pub and being like, oh, my family car's got a V8 in it and it's got 600 or 700 odd horsepower and we'll go from 0 to 60 and whatever. When you come up with an EV, they're like, yeah, whatever. And there's also that element of, we were talking about this over lunch, of where I love in the morning with my 4 Series, a cold start. Getting a cold start in the morning and that 6-cylinder fires up and I'm just like, it's like, I adore it.
Yeah.
And maybe there is an element of that for people. So I don't know. The numbers wise, objectively, you go, this sounds like a really good product. It sounds fast. It sounds good to drive.
It is expensive, even though it's not. That's the most expensive.
It's
Do you know how much it is?
30 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is like 50 grand more than the non-turbo version. And to be fair, I haven't mentioned that. I did drive that as well. But it's not particularly quick, but still a lovely car. Still has all the ergonomics. Still looks largely the same, barring mainly the rear end. The turbo gets these crazy. Someone commented on a picture I put out on social media of it. It comes with like McDonald's trays.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's got like vertical even. Sorry, trays that pop out of the rear bumper at the rear. That like almost like fangs, but popping out. To extend the rear. It's an aerodynamic feature. It extends the rear of the car by, I think it's a gimmick, because it extends the rear of the car by about 3 inches. So I can't, I mean, an aerodynamicist might be screaming at the screen or laptop right now saying, no, that will add a massive amount. But it doesn't look like it adds tons. I think it's a bit of a gimmick.
It's 83,000 for the standard one.
There you go. 50k less, yeah.
But if you're thinking, oh God, 83,000 I don't want the slow one, and 130,000 is a heck of a lot of money to spend for the turbo. There is now a Cayenne S, which
in the middle.
I did
Have
the
they
story
listed it on the
about
website?
Yeah.
Pricing wasn't out when I drove the car, but it might be out now.
It is now. Yes, it is.
How much is it?
It was 99,000.
Oh, okay. So it is banging.
So you're looking at 666 horsepower versus 1,156 versus 442 for the entry-level car.
The entry-level car doesn't feel very quick because it's 4.8 to 62, which is very quick. But in the world of EVs, that's actually quite average now.
And because it's still a 2.6 ton car.
Yeah.
But the thing to factor in, I just wanted to say, is that that 666 is with like the full boost mode. And
that is the same on the turbos.
Yeah. So I think it drops to 560, 540, 560 odd.
Yeah.
Same range though, 405 miles for the. Or it's actually according to Porsche, it has the S has the best range of all of them, up to 405 miles. Turbo up to 387 miles, and the regular one 399.
Yeah.
So by spending another 15, 16 odd grand on the S, you get up to 6 miles more range than you would do on a standard car, but you get also 220 horsepower more.
Yeah, I mean, the base car is fine for 99% of people anyway, because it does everything it needs to do. The space we mentioned, it looks cool. But yeah, I mean, that turbo's performance. There were a few of us on the launch going, why would you need this much performance? But the key change actually on the turbo, which I don't know if the S gets it, is the limited slip differential on the rear axle, which does make it really mid-corner. How many people drive a Cayenne into a corner with the front end loaded up and then start getting on the power? I don't know. But if you do it, having a limited slip diff does make it just that nice, a bit nicer, a bit easier to manage on corner exit. It makes you feel a bit like a legend.
Well, that's exactly what Cayenne Turbo buyers are wanting to feel like, an absolute legend. You won't sound like one, but you'll feel like one.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
You've just reminded me before we sign off on Cayenne, it does make a sound, but it's not very electric. The internal sound projected inside is a bit more of a bassy, borderline V8 tone.
Interesting.
Kind of like Cayenne V8 vibes.
Well, I mean, the old turbos used to be V8s, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
so it's probably inspired by that, yeah.
I imagine if they did it after the Gen 1, just like a really old school, rumbly V8. And it's like, well, as long as it doesn't play on the outside.
Yeah.
Because that makes me feel a bit like, you know, when I was a kid, I used to put like cards between the spokes on my wheels on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Used to call them flapsicles.
Yeah.
And so it used to kind of sound like a budget Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
I feel like when there's a sound that plays on the outside, it's a bit like that. It's a bit like, you know, on the inside, totally cool. On the outside, it's a bit like, look at me.
How many people with their 500Es and now 600Es Abarths do it? I've seen like one guy do it, and I think most people leave it off, don't they?
Yeah, well, especially as there's no gear simulation on that, so it's just basically a fart.
Slow motion cow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. Cayenne. And obviously, if you're looking for a conventionally powered Cayenne, Porsche still sells that because we love choice. But if that's still too much, PistonHeads Classifieds. We always have so many Cayennes, and the odd one appears on the auctions too, so keep a lookout. Speaking of buying cars, our challenge for the week. This one comes from HRC77, and it's titled Manual Hatchbacks for 20k.
Oh,
that's not true. That hatchback search, what to test drive. That's what it's called.
Either way, this is good language.
I called it Manual Hatchbacks for 20k because that's what the topic is. So they say, we'll soon trade in my 2012 2-litre TDI VW Golf to get something newer. Requirements/wish list as follows. 2020 to 2023-ish, hatchback, manual, minimum 120 to 130 brake horsepower. I've been used to 140 horsepower. I wouldn't like to drop much. Yeah, if you drop that much, you're not moving.
Yeah.
Reliable, or at least not known for being unreliable. That's a good differentiation. Ideally under 20k, comfortable to drive and be a front passenger in, but not too dull. Reasonable running costs and average tax and insurance. Not sure if I've paid attention to that one. We'll be using it for roughly 10,000 miles a year. Bonus points for a heated seat. I need to go and test drive a few, but what makes and models would be worth checking out that may fit the bill? Now, this has been positioned, Sam, more as a just a hatchback. They're just after a hatchback
with a bit of poke.
But this is PistonHeads.
Yeah.
We don't do regular hatchbacks. We try and get you the most fun that you can for your money. So with that in mind, I feel like it's been forever since we've had a hatchback or a hot hatch style buying guide. So I really enjoyed this one. What have you come across? Because there's quite a lot.
There were quite a lot, yeah. It was impossible to not notice Fiesta STs in the ranks, and there were some really lovely ones actually, and some quite recent ones. I stretched the limits. He said 2020 to 2023, but I found a 2019 Performance Edition ST, which I don't know if you've driven a Performance Edition, but it came with coilovers and with orange paintwork, and it really
coilovers.
It is such a great little car. That generation, the last generation of Fiesta, RIP, because honestly, I love it. Ben's got one at the moment, hasn't he? And I'm so jealous. It's in the spec I had as a long termer as well, same colour.
He's planning on putting a diffuser on his, by the way.
Oh, I love that car. They're so good. And that motor, that little Rorty 3-cylinder, it's got so much character, good gearbox, fantastic chassis. But the Performance Edition came along with coilovers, and in particular, in the chassis department, ramped that stuff up to the next level. Now, it is a little bit fidgetier, a bit firmer, but not, it's not going to break your back. It's livable, but handles excellently. Cocks a rear wheel, inside rear wheel. If you sneeze a little bit when you go around a roundabout, you're up on 3 wheels. It's great.
This one caught my eye because I love a little hot Fiesta.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I think these ST editions are dead cool.
So cool.
Especially with the coilovers.
Yeah.
But, Sam Sheehan, I just wanted to add on top of this that this one has been, as the ad says, enhanced by a Mountune M275 kit, Smart Flash Stage 1 software,
Smart Flash,
Mountune Airbox, Mountune Turbo Elbow.
Turbo. Oh, that's the elbow. Yeah, that's the pipe work.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just better pipe. It'd just be better flow.
Thank you. I did not know what that meant. Mountune short shifter and also a Mountune intake hose.
Nice.
So it's had a little bit of work done on it. So
a lot of bit of work.
A lot of bit of work. I mean, if it says 275 Smart Flash, that is a huge amount of power to get out of a flash. But hey, you know,
so this is going to be very, very quick. I think they came with a limited slip diff as well? Of course they did, because the standard one got the quaff. So this is going to be a car that goes down the straight, goes into corners, powers out of corners, and lifts an inside rear wheel with equal joy and excitement and fun. And it's bright orange.
I think this is as close as you would get to an ST RS. Sorry, a Fiesta RS.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the power is there or thereabouts.
Definitely.
Obviously with the coilovers, with the diff. Yeah,
cool little thing.
It looks fantastic. 17,250, 48,000 miles, and just one previous
owner. Yeah. Next cars, I say cars because I'm going to throw two in together because they're about the same size. I came across a few Abarth 595s and I came across an SS which looked really very lovely. I do love these. I just they're so much fun. Do you know I wasn't part of the I love them camp until quite recently because I drove an early one. I don't know, several years ago, and I was like, seating position's horrible. I just don't get it. I don't like them. I always liked the way they looked. And then I drove one much more recently in the last 5 years, and I don't know, something changed. I was just like, it's just so much fun. They make so much noise. They're raucous. They feel exotic, even though they're, you know, a tiny little hatchback with a little 1400cc engine. They're great. I love them.
I did a story on a Tributo Ferrari a few years back, and it's the first. I don't read the comments of the PH stuff. Whenever I do, I don't tend to get horrible words thrown at me, but I did on this Tributo because I wrote it from the perspective of they're not especially good, they're not famously good cars to drive, but what you're getting is more of the Ferrari lifestyle. And everyone was like, you're just such a miserable bugger. Shut up. And I was like, you know what? You were right. They're fun. I think you just got to appreciate them for what they are. And whenever I see one about, I just think, I do really want one of those. Is it posery? I don't think so. I think it's more of just making an ordinary car feel special.
Yeah. Do you know? And also, when you drive them really quickly on the limit, they've got that button. Is it? I can't remember what it is now, but it's effectively it turns on the traction. Is it TCC or something? It's like the torque traction TTC. I think that's right. Don't at me on that one, but there's a system they have which effectively manages the traction on the front axle like a slippy diff, but I don't think it is. It's got some stuff.
Okay.
I don't even know what this one comes with that's different. It doesn't really matter because what I know is that technology, it makes it put the power down quite well. So you can chuck it about like a little short wheelbase hatchback that it literally is.
Yeah.
Get on the power. It doesn't have too much power that it overwhelms the front wheels, and you can drive it like your hair is on fire, and it's brilliant.
177 horsepower.
Yeah, plenty.
28,664 miles on this one.
Doesn't mention a Monza exhaust, which I think is a must-have on these.
Surely not too hard to retrofit.
No.
I would imagine. And there's going to be loads of aftermarket exhaust because it's almost like a given that you get one of these and put an aftermarket exhaust on. 16094. I
really like it. I think they're a great little car
too.
Slightly different but same size. I'll rush over this one quickly because it was kind of a bonus, but that's the Volkswagen Up GTI. That's like if you didn't want to go with the crazy bonkers, you know, I don't want to be quite as loud and raucous, but I still want to have a fun little hatchback. These are great. I do think the Abarth is more fun to drive quickly. I think these are punchy and quick and they've got a great engine sound, but I think the Abarth is a little bit more.
113 horsepower.
Yeah.
But I've not driven one of these. I think I would love it. But it's very much one of those cars where it's almost like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas the Abarth is, even if you don't know, it just looks special.
Yeah.
32,000, 12,899. So a bit cheaper.
Yeah. My final choice is an Alpine A110.
Oh?
In a hatchback body.
Oh.
Because it's a Megane RS, which gets the 1800, the 1.8 litre turbo engine, and the same dual clutch 7-speed, I think it's 7-speed gearbox that you get in an A110.
This one's a manual though, mate. because that's what the plan was.
This is a manual.
So
even better.
I had this recently, as I didn't realise these came with manual gearboxes.
I didn't either.
Turns out they did.
I'm looking at that like, that's going to be a great runaround. I
feel so much better now that you made the same, because we have one that came up for auction.
A110.
Yeah, it's this is as close as
Why
you get
is
to
no one doing
A110.
a manual swap A110? There must be a reason. It's probably just really hard because the engine's in a different place.
I would love it.
In fact, it's almost certainly because the engine's in a different place.
That'll probably be it. But
look at that! Now I love it even more.
Fantastic thing. 280 horsepower, 36,200 miles. Two previous owners at 18,489.
And it's in grey, which sounds boring, with just black seats. But the reason I like this one is it's so sensible, much like the Up, but in a much more senior way because of the car it is. No one would know what this is unless they knew what this was.
And I think this one fits the bill.
Yeah.
Pretty much spot on, aside from the fact that it's not in the age window, but it's only a year behind. 2019 car.
2019 is fine.
I don't think it would be a fortune to run. I don't think I think they're reliable-ish. I think, it's the kind of car that most people went for. It was the 300, wasn't it? That was the top,
and they were in brighter colours and
precisely. The 280s were a bit more of the thinking person.
Yeah, they had a softer suspension
Megane
setup as well, so a bit more comfortable.
That was a part of the criteria.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic find, actually.
Yeah, and I can't claim it because you spotted it.
That's annoying. I was like, it's a
that.
fantastic find that I annoyingly gave you because I exchanged this for
a car that I love very much,
which was a Hyundai.
Yeah.
There needs to be like a Hyundai/Hyundai jar. Anytime I say Hyundai, I've got to put a pound in it. I can't do that because it's going to be a penny.
10
because
pence,
I will literally lose my house. Hyundai i30N performance.
Awesome car.
We have had an i30N on here before. I can't remember if it was my final choice. It was a Sportback.
It was.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Sportback?
The Fastback, Sportback. I know what you mean.
One of those ones. The coupe.
They probably call it a saloon because I've seen people do that, and I'm like, saloon.
Yes, I know. It's still a hatch.
Yeah.
This one, however, is the proper hatch in performance blue, which I think is a must on an i30N.
On a Hyundai.
Partly because the red lip, I find, just doesn't really look good on any other versions. But with the performance blue, I think it works.
Yeah.
But this one, 62,000 miles. They just hold their values extremely well.
Yeah, they do.
19,995.
Yeah.
Do you know what the wild thing is, though? Is that while we were looking at this with the 20 grand budget, I couldn't find an i20N.
Yeah. In budget. Yeah.
But then it would have been in that time period, but couldn't find one.
They're so much rarer, I guess, because they were barely on sale, weren't they? They were like a couple of years,
short time,
and then killed off.
Great little cars though. i30N though, you're getting a bigger car, big boot. They're just fantastic to drive.
Yeah, they are. I did a track day in one at Silverstone years ago, and Silverstone does swamp anything with. I think a McLaren Senna feels good. I've never driven one. I presume that feels pretty good at Silverstone.
It's built for Formula One cars.
I've driven like a Radical at Silverstone, and I was like, this feels right.
Yeah.
High speed car. This at Silverstone, it was a small car compared to the circuit. But it still felt so alive. They're quite pointy on the nose. They're adjustable on the throttle. Nice gearbox. Engine sounds great. Bloody thirsty. I think I mentioned that before. Really thirsty. I think I did 2 tanks that day. Whoops.
Wow.
On the PistonHeads budget though. So I didn't pay for that.
We have a budget?
No, well, I think I just paid for it and expensed it, but we got a couple of stories out of it, so it's fine.
Fair play.
I think that's right.
And that should be a good test, actually, is go and take it to Silverstone, and do you basically get lost? Because it's massive circuit.
Quick. But do you know what? The good thing, because you probably highlighting this, is that it can also be a normal car. You don't have to have pops and bangs on. You can drive around in it like a manual Golf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or you can be an absolute hooligan.
But the popping and banging of where it is quite like you're just, I remember having it, and I took mine to Silverstone as well, but I was watching the last World Endurance Championship round in 2019 and driving that on the way home. And just changing gear from like 4th to 5th.
Yeah.
And you just get the little crackles between each.
I want to not love it, but I love it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next up is a car that is probably not the most sensible choice, but it is one that I desperately want. It's an itch I would like to scratch. It's 2018, so it's 2 years behind the criteria, but I mean, that's nothing really. 2018 Toyota Yaris GRMN. Now, this was obviously before all the GR Yaris stuff came about. And
this was them dipping their toe in hot Yaris waters.
If anything, this felt like almost more... This felt like a properly audacious car.
Yeah.
Because 1.8 litre little engine, but it was supercharged.
Yes, it was. I forgot about that.
So 210 horsepower. Yeah. It had much beefier brakes, much beefier suspension. It was a properly radically overhauled car. And I think a lot of people at the time felt it was a bit overkill because it was like, it's just a little Yaris. Why have you done all of this to a little Yaris? And it's still, they didn't make it any wider or anything like that. They put the rally stickers on it, but it felt very niche. And it was like, okay, it's cool that you've done this, Toyota, but I can't see there being a big market for fast Yarises. And then they went, we're actually going to build a purpose-built rally car on a Yaris, and we're going to charge 30 grand for it. And everybody ate it up because it's brilliant. And side note, I drove the GR Yaris Aero at Goodwood the other day. You can't really get up to... I drove it for 3 laps. I didn't have enough speed to really test the Aero out. Yeah. But, I mean... It's a GR Yaris. It's more brilliant.
Bloody cool car.
Just very expensive.
Did that have different suspension on it? Because they are a bit soft, aren't they? There's a lot of aftermarket upgrades on that. I don't think these are.
Have you driven the facelift?
No, that's better.
That's night and day.
Yeah,
but I prefer the softer suspension of the Gen 1. The Gen 2 is much more track oriented, whereas I think the Gen 1's a better road car.
Because they had a tracks. I'm getting a bit off on a tangent here, but they had a track suspension option anyway. But then there were aftermarket packs.
That's true.
Yeah. That really ramped it. Interesting. I need to drive one of those. Never driven one of these either.
No, would love to. There is a journalist who owns one of these, and he absolutely loves his Yarises. And I was talking to him about how the cost of replacing some of the components and punchy.
I suppose it's rare. Yeah,
it's rare. Yes, all stuff bespokely made for the GRMN. So it's 16994, 40,000 miles. So it's a little below budget, but I would say reliable, sure. But when it does come time to replacing things like brakes, exhaust, just save up some pennies. My last option, though, I think is probably the best for what they're after because it is a little bit mean. It is a 2018, so again, just a little bit outside the window. Seat Leon Cupra 300.
Yeah.
So we're talking essentially front-wheel drive Golf R. So it's got, but manual, so it still ticks that box. It's got 300 horsepower from the 2-litre engine. It's got the digital dash. It's got CarPlay. It's got all the kind of core stuff, but there was part of the criteria that I don't think I included in the initial description because it was quite a long post. If they quite like a sharp, slightly aggressive looking Golf A3 A-class sort of car, whereas I thought this is more interesting than those.
Yeah,
because it is punchy. It's going to be a bit more affordable. If you're looking at fast versions of those, you're paying a bit more. It's also a Cupra before they started shoving bronze stuff on it.
Yes, this is the Seat Cupra.
It is a Seat Cupra Leon, and which I'm not a big fan of the bronzy stuff.
Yeah, it can be a bit OTT.
It reminds me of like a hipster cafe.
Yeah, well, they won't be upset with you saying that because I went to a recent reveal of an upcoming model which is still under embargo, and the marketing material for that was all hipsters, and it's like it's like a Gen Z hipster, so it's less like curly moustache, more I've got extreme levels of anxiety. But still hipster.
So they just showed you like a room of cowering young people,
just all on their own, going, "No, I'm only kidding."
Hoping that you don't. They are.
They're actually way more optimistic than
us
the internet would make them out to be, and fair play to them all. But yes, I don't think they'll be upset with that.
Although I was going to say, I think this is more of the curly moustache.
This is curly moustache era.
Yeah,
is it not JD Sports? It's JD Sports.
I think this one's potentially more JD Sports. I think it was the orange era that became a bit more. What kind of coffee do you want?
Yeah.
So
Cortado, if you're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before until I met you. But yeah, so it's in blue. It's got It's got massive kind of cannons out the back for exhausts.
Yeah.
Splitter. Just
Are they
looks really
standard?
smart.
Those tailpipes.
They are protruding a little bit, aren't they?
They look a little bit.
They look a little bit
They've gained
aftermarket.
length.
Yes.
I'd say they look stuck on.
They may be a little bit. So in that regard,
They're a bit like fake eyelashes. You're sort of like, they could be real.
I still think this is the one to go for.
Yeah.
I think this is the car. 57,000 miles, 17,485. Gives you a bit of money that if those exhausts are aftermarket, to just put something on that's a little more subtle.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it ticks the box.
Yeah, it does. It does. Much in the same way that the RS Megane, my manual.
I think your RS
Alpine
Megane is
in a hatchback
really
thing,
smart.
which I'm going to nominate. My heart longs for the Fiesta ST Performance Edition, but for this particular PHR, I think the Megane makes more sense.
My heart longs for the GRMN.
Yeah.
But I know that they're after something more sensible.
Yeah.
And I would hate the thought of them to be like, I've just got to go and get the supercharger done. Oh, by the way, it's X amount of money.
Yeah.
So there you have it. As usual, I will leave a vote up for this on Spotify. So if you're listening there, you can vote on my car or Sam's car. Or if you think we've done a terrible job, you can go onto the PistonHeads homepage, go onto the article, and I'll leave a link to the topic. You can jump in there and put your own suggestions in. Now, usually what we'll do is we'll have a look at the PistonHeads auctions to see if something fits the bill. We did that last week. This week, not so much, although I did find we've got coming up a 2003 Volkswagen Golf R32.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks immaculate.
Mark
Look
IV
how good
Golf,
that looks.
Yeah,
Mark IV.
Mark IV Golfs, have a bad rep or have had a bad rep, but this is just the car to prove that design actually looks really bloody good.
I think this is what the stance community like to call good fitment.
Yes. Perfect stance, perfect wheel size.
Perfect everything.
Yeah.
So that's going to become available to bid on the 24th of March, which, if I've got my timing right, will mean that you should still be able to bid on it by the time this podcast goes live, although I think you will only have a day. So, yes, good luck. And, if you've just heard this, you kind of want to get in at the end, don't you? Because then you can try and...
That's it. Yeah, wait.
Try and grab it, although we have an anti-sniping technique, so you can't just jump in the last 30 seconds. And but if you want it, put a bid in it. Last thing I wanted to end on was, it's a topic called Instantly-recognisable engine sound, started by Triumph Man.
Oh, yeah.
And they say, this sort of thing. You can hear an engine a few hundred yards, maybe even further away, and know instantly what manufacturer it is, or maybe even what vehicle it is. As examples, the Rover 200/300 TDI and the TD5. Even when tuned, you can tell what engine or /car it is. I'm not sure I could pick out a Rover 200/300, but
especially the TDIs.
The TDIs, that's a distinct,
Yeah.
potentially quite flatulent diesel.
Yeah, I'm guessing I could see the smoke. Maybe I'd see the black.
So I can relate to Blinded by the Lights, who says Subaru engines, distinctive. You can hear
Definitely.
If it's a UK DM, because we're all anoraks here. The JDMs have equal length manifolds, so they don't create that same bauble, but the UK DMs do. Finlow, however, can hear the difference between a Morris Minor, an MGB, a Triumph Stag, and a VW Beetle.
Now, I would say that they all sound very similar.
The
Stag, I guess, with the V8.
I personally think they all sound quite similar.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a car on this list that I think everybody thinks sounds the same, but I can definitely tell the difference.
Yeah.
A VW Beetle, I think I can tell a Beetle.
Yeah, that's quite an agricultural... Yeah.
Almost a little clattery, but it's definitely there is a distinct boxery sound to it.
That's true. And the surfing in the USA playing in the stereo as they roll by.
True, because they all do.
Yeah.
They all have surfing in the USA playing out at full blast.
Yeah.
What are the engines that when you hear them... So the way I've kind of imagined this is, imagine someone's just put some headphones on you and they've played an exhaust sound and they went, what is this? I think I could name the ones on my list.
Yeah. Well, the ones that I find the easiest, and I'm sure you could find these pretty easy as well, I always hear them. You sometimes hear them at night when I'm trying to get to bed in the middle of summer and the windows are open because it's hot. And I'm like, someone's out racing around in a Hurricane. Oh, I can hear a V10. And I've had people have gone, how can you tell the difference between a Huracan and an R8? Which in itself is a nerdy question, but and I'm like, no, you can.
You can.
The Huracans, I mean, I'm sure there's an aftermarket exhaust that would make them sound the same, but in standard tune, Huracan, identifiable miles off, not even yards off.
An R8 sounds more like an efficient V10.
Yeah.
It's like a clean, efficient V10, whereas a Huracan's a little dirtier.
Do you remember that amazing Audi advert for the old
dude, it's one of the reasons why I'm sat here now, because
it was so good.
I had to study that at school, and I did a report on it, and it was like the first A that I ever got.
Really?
And then studied media, went into journalism, and now
wow,
it's because of
that's amazing.
That advert. Yeah, it was
because it was really, just the engine, wasn't it?
It was
running.
incredible. It was and
a slow zoom.
It was that on a dyno.
Yeah,
that was it, and it spun round to the back of the car, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I was at school at the time.
This wasn't long after
it.
That era of car marketing. Best. Any marketeers listening or watching to this, if you need inspiration, if you're too young to remember that stuff, that era I think was the peak. I'm sure it wouldn't work today for some reason.
We were talking about Ioniq 6N in the previous pod. Maybe if they just showed like someone flapping a paddle up, and then going to the outside and it's just silent.
Yeah,
you can have that one for free. We can talk. So yeah, Huracan, absolutely.
Yeah,
could tell the difference.
Similar because the classic, it's just half a V10. Any of the VW Group 5-pots, you can just identify that 5-pot. And you actually rightfully mentioned that the original Quattro has a very distinctive.
It does. It's because it's a little bit longer geared because of the old turbo lag.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I can't do a proper.
I wasn't. But, I thought about impersonating.
I was going to impersonate it, and I was like, you know what? It's just not going to work. But there it is that kind of, because the current stuff is so like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Whereas those old 5-pot Quattros, I imagine they would have been 5 speeds, so they're really long. Love it.
I saw one doing a proper rally start as well at Goodwood on the rally stage a couple of years back. That was cool. E60 BMW M5.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very distinctive V10.
We had one at Mercedes-Benz World.
Oh, yeah.
The other couple of weeks ago. And I was going around filming cars, and there was a E60 parked next to a, what's the current, the previous generation of M5 called?
Oh,
the V8.
Not the F80.
Not the F10. It was the one after the
F90.
F90. It was an F90 generation M5, and I went back there later to go and just do a bit more with it, and I was like, where's the E60 gone? And then I heard in the background this almighty roar, and I saw it driving away, and I was like, that's where it's gone.
I think the design has aged so well as well. I know we're talking about the engine, but the design of the Bangle era Beamers.
I never had a problem with the Bangle cars.
Great.
Some people did. I didn't mind a Bangle, but I had no problem.
I think it's great. It's aged well. But yeah, very, very, very distinctive V10. Famously has some, although disputed how much, ties to the BMW F1 engine. I think that would have run in a Williams. BMW Williams.
I think it had some F1 tech. I've also heard that it was potentially inspired by the P60 B40 that was in the prototype IndyCar V8 that was in the M3 GTR racer.
That's cool in itself.
Which then they chopped up they chopped 2 cylinders off to make the S65 V8.
Well, that's cool in itself.
Very cool.
But yeah, it was back at the era when F1 had V10 engines as well. So you were just like, oh my God, I've got the same as a Formula One car. And I can put the kids in the back. And it looks really cool. Yes, loved it. Obviously, all 911s, that flat 6-tone, know those. And I'm going to throw in my personal faves because I was tested on this very recently.
Yeah.
Because by mistake. Because I was watching a YouTube video from a YouTuber who had 3 hot hatches from France in the video, and I think he was previewing to his mates what he'd bought, or there was a shot where they played the engine track before the car, and I was like, that's an F4R Renault Sport engine.
Oh, nice.
I heard the rumble, and there it was. Yes, so I can always identify 172, even a Clio Williams, because it still has technical relations, that engine. You can hear that rumble. And the other one, which is personal, which I know you'll agree with, is all the F1 engines of the naturally aspirated, probably late 90s, but definitely the noughties eras. The Ferrari engine, distinctly smoother.
I was thinking that the wail from the V10 McLarens of the early engine. 2000s. It sounded like a screaming banshee, which is a bit of a cliche, but it genuinely did sound like a banshee. Yeah.
This is your time now, viewers and listeners. If anyone's got a bit of time later on to just go and play, maybe put the blindfold on or just turn away from the screen, play F1 engines of the noughties, they are so distinctly different. Today's engines, maybe there are subtle differences, but it's much harder. They all sound very much the same.
And from the outside as well. It's not just the onboards. Because
Yeah.
I can do onboards, the V8 generation, I can tell the difference between the Ferraris, the Renaults, the Hondas, and the Mercedes. From the outside, they all sound the same, in my opinion.
I think the engines of today, the bigger differences that you hear are the sort of the overrun sounds or whatever the one. You get that kind of the gargling of the Red Bull versus but the actual on-throttle sounds are very similar.
When I was at Silverstone last year, I managed to find a little spot on the exit of the second corner. So there's that kind of fast right, left, so third corner, the tight right that goes into the little, before you get onto the Hamilton Straight.
Yeah.
And is it the Hamilton Straight?
You're talking about the start-finish straight?
Yeah,
and it goes right. Yeah,
yes,
that's a fast.
It's the slow corner complex after the start-finish straight. So we'll leave it at that.
Arena. I think it's called Arena. It's like a
okay.
stretched chicane.
It is like a stretched
chicane. It's like
chicane.
a right-left, which
That's
I've
it.
never hit the breaking point for every time I go to Silverstone. I always get over-ambitious on the first bit and compromise
a
the
lot
second.
of runoff.
Compromise the second bit.
But
Anyway.
the Red Bull Honda at the time was when it on downshift, it would. I remember it coming through the corner, going on power, and then as they lifted off, you'd hear this like ping sound. No other car did it, but and it was really loud. The Renaults, the Hondas, it was almost like a blow off valve.
Yeah.
Like, pff, and no other car did it. It was really, really strange.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I hope Honda can fix their problems this year, by the way. Anyway.
Speaking of things where granular, telling the difference between engines, can you tell the difference between 911 engines? Because I can definitely tell the difference between a pre-991 and a post-991.
I think so, yeah. Well, definitely on board.
Much revier.
Definitely on board as well. Anything turbocharged of the latest era as well. Still sounds like a flat six, but doesn't have anywhere near as much note.
I think I could tell the difference between a 996 and a 997. Maybe.
I don't know if I could. That's good.
I can tell I can tell what a new GT3 RS sounds like, because it sounds like the racing car that I am absolutely obsessed with. 911 RSR 17, which is on my list. These things were, I still think, the greatest sounding racing car maybe of all time. I would say it sounds better than a Valkyrie. The only thing I think that sounds just as good is the Cadillac Le Mans car. I think it sounds freaking marvelous.
That feels good, that one. That comes through your chest.
It does really come through your chest.
2017
But
era.
the 2017 RSRs were proper whalers. And I mean, I could get me within 2 miles of a circuit and one of them running around and I'd be able to pick it out immediately.
Yeah. That's the car. Is that the one I drove? Is that the one? This is humble
drove,
brag.
And
humble brag.
Is that the Le Mans Porsche that I drove?
I don't know if it was a
drove
2017 car.
a 2020 spec one, so it had the side exits.
Boo! I messed that one up, didn't I?
So
I should really know what I'm doing.
Yeah, so it was RSR GTE.
Oh god, that was in the pandemic.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
What was
So
I doing
that
out
was
and about
pretty
on that
freaking
day?
cool. Porsche don't let you drive those cars anymore, sadly. Other ones that I can tell apart: S54 straight six.
Yes, very nice.
Really, really distinctive because it's got quite a buzzy tone.
Especially you can get the carbon intake on that, can't you?
You can, which makes it even buzzier and louder. And it's. I feel like you could do a bit of work on one of those to make it sound like half a McLaren F1. They do sound really good. McLaren F1 is another one.
Good point.
And a Dodge Viper.
Yes.
I think you could tell a Dodge Viper so easily because it's got that you could probably actually mistake it for a 5-pot because it's such a low revving V10.
Yeah.
But really kind of muscly, low down, torquey V10 sound. And my last one is, we talked about this on a previous podcast. It's a diesel Transit.
I'm guessing
the 1990s.
Yeah, I was about to say it has to be, because they are that. To me, that is the sound of reliability. Now, someone with a turbocharged one is probably going to come and go, "Whoa, done a couple of turbos on those, mate."
I had it's because one of my old school buses had one, and it always felt like the engine was sat next to you on the bus.
Yeah,
it was so loud and buzzy.
But they've got that lovely kind of, the tick over is very like, it doesn't sound like it's ticking over at thousands of RPM. It sounds more like hundreds of RPM.
That's exactly it. It felt
is it doing
very,
hundreds? It probably
very,
is doing
very
hundreds,
low.
actually. Yeah,
just low everything. But yes, feel free to add your own inputs into the list. There were loads on there, and we could have literally spent all day on it, which we sort of did, really. But we'll have to stop it there. Thank you ever so much for listening to another episode of the Gassing Station podcast. I had a huge amount of fun doing this one, and if you liked what you listened to, please leave us a 5-star review, because it helps get the Gassing Station out to more people and lets us know that we're doing an all right job, I guess. Sam, anything you'd like to add before we reconvene?
I'm just thinking that the following episode that comes out after this one, there's going to be a massive car that I can talk about.
Oh, so I can talk about the Honda Prelude.
You can talk about the Honda Prelude.
Great.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty
that was it,
cool
right?
car. Yeah,
yeah.
No, I think this one is going to be, that. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button. This guy. That's going to be on.
Oh yeah, that's going to be pretty cool.
That embargo, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I can't talk about that, but that's going to be.
Can't tell you what
cool.
it is yet.
So you heard him. Tune in.
Car.
See you next Tuesday.